Hey everyone, so this 6 weeks we're going to start watersheds. So you'll have this slideshow and you're going to have a thing of vocab to go with that. So hopefully what you should get out of this presentation is be able to define what a watershed is, explain the importance of watersheds, identify the features of a watershed, and explain how to manage a watershed. So terms. These are going to be your vocab terms. So look at them, look for them throughout the presentation. I went easy on y'all this week. So where does the water go that falls as precipitation? Where does the water go that falls on the school ground? Y'all know what I'm saying. And how does the water get there? What does the water carry with it? So an area that provides runoff for a stream or reservoir is what a watershed is. Any natural or man-made part of the landscape that can be considered a watershed. And examples include farmland, forests, fields, and parking lots. So say this is a farm right here, this little forest. Maybe there's a school right here. That's all a part of this watershed. So watersheds drain downhill into bodies of water. If water in the watershed becomes polluted, the body of water it drains into will be polluted as well. Therefore, watershed management is important to keep pollution to a minimum. This may include prohibiting activities such as disposing of waste or building structures near watersheds. So, importance of watersheds. They provide people with a healthy water supply and places for recreation. This is used to provide water for irrigation and local industry. Wildlife depend on watershed for places to live and nest. People can live in watersheds as well. So, watershed features, this includes size, boundary, terrain, soil type, and the features nearest the water. So watershed size, this varies by location. Some can be large, like those near rivers or estuaries. Others are smaller, like those near ponds and streams. So watershed boundaries. Is a ridge or area of higher ground that forces water to drain towards or away from a watershed. So you have the Great Basin right here. This is Great Continental Divide. Then you have the Latrine. You have the Arctic. You have the St. Lawrence. You have the Eastern. So watershed terrain refers to topography or the outline of the surface of the land. Steeper terrain will result in faster drainage. Soil erosion and flooding may result from faster drainage. So watershed soil type also can determine the rate of drainage in the watershed. Soils with high clay contents will drain more slowly, which may result in more erosion and flooding. Soils with high sand content will drain more quickly. So another feature of a watershed are the features nearest the water. The presence of filter strips, wildlife habitats, riparian areas, and wetlands can greatly affect the quality of the water in the watershed. So filter strips and wildlife habitats. Filter strips are grassy areas along the edge of the watershed that filter out sediments and other pollutants. Wildlife habitats include all plant and animal species that live within the watershed. Wetland areas. Wetlands are areas that have water covering the ground. Not only are wetlands excellent wildlife habitat, but they also serve as a catch basin for runoff. And then you have riparian areas. Riparian areas are areas of vegetation near the source of water. So these are going to be areas just along your creek banks, your stream, areas immediately around the lake. So watershed planning and management. There are several steps in planning and managing a watershed. Following these steps will help to determine the success of the development of the watershed. Before a watershed can be managed, it must be planned for and developed. Watershed planning. Determine the size and boundaries of the watershed. These will be determined by the soil and terrain of the area. So determine the uses of the watershed. This should include people and industry that will use the watershed and what they will use it for. So building partnerships with local people and businesses that can help find funding and divide work and manage conflicts. So it also helps develop maps of the area, determine the goals of the area, and evaluate the quality of water in the potential watershed. So this will also help educate the local communities. Educational programs can make people aware of the uses of the watershed, how to care for and protect the watershed, and benefits of developing the watershed. These provides landowners in the area with technical and financial assistance in developing and maintaining the watershed. So the final step is to follow up and make sure that water quality monitoring is continued and the area is being managed appropriately. Also, continued education is important. So once a watershed has been planned and developed, it is to be managed. Decisions about the watershed with the support of everyone involved. This should include the local partners and local community members. So to obtain technical information about the watershed using high quality tests done in a precise manner, this information will be used when making plans for the watershed. So it'll also help develop education and assistance programs. Keeping the local community educated about the watershed will make management simpler. Keeping pollution and degradation down to a minimum will be more cost effective than not. So you should be able to define a watershed, explain the importance of a watershed, identify key features, and explain how to manage a watershed. And there's some comics, and we are done. So you have your vocab to do and a couple other things to do this week. And we'll be here for at least the next week, if not the next. So I will talk to you guys later. If you have any questions, let me know. Bye.